an executive order entitled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. In its wake, a fascist sanitization of our history has taken place. They are suffocating the real history, our truth. What this executive order has delivered instead is a quiet erasure of this country's rich and complicated story. It is the erasure of the commemorations and celebrations that honor the diversity that has always made our country what it was always meant to be. Stonewall is the site where trans activists, especially trans women and trans people of color, ignited the movement for queer and trans liberation across this country. And now, with the removal of the pride flag at Stonewall National Monument, we see exactly what this executive order was designed to do. We cannot let the federal government continue its censorship campaign to erase our history. Trans people have always existed and will continue to exist. Queer people have always existed and will continue to exist. Black, Indigenous, and people of color have always existed and will continue to exist. But history does not bend to executive orders, and the promise of equality does not disappear because a flag is taken down. We say it here today, loud and proud. We are still here. The pride flag will rise again at Stonewall, and the LGBTQ community will never be erased. And I'll leave it at, the fact that I do believe that the president is using this as a distraction, right? He's focused on various different letters in the alphabet, LGBT. He should be worried about P, which stands for pedophile. Thank you very much.
Okay, we are now going to hear from Councilmember Shulman, who has introduced a bill that would require the New York City Department of Health to provide guidance on the health code to prospective child care programs applying for a permit. So I now want to invite Councilmember Shulman to come up.
You need the
yes.
Can you, can you do that for me?
The box.
The box.
Box.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be voting on proposed introduction 437-A, sponsored by myself. This legislation would require DOHMH to provide guidance to prospective child care programs when they apply for a permit pursuant to Article 47 of the Health Code. Speaker Menon has been a stalwart advocate for child care, and I want to start by thanking her for her unwavering leadership and dedication to this issue. Opening a child care program in New York City shouldn't feel like navigating a maze, but right now, for too many providers, that's exactly what it is. Small community-based providers are forced to piece together requirements from multiple agencies, chase approvals in the right order, and figure out a process that should be clear from the start. That confusion slows down openings and makes it harder to bring new child care seats online at a time when families across our city are in need of affordable, reliable care. My bill brings clarity and transparency to this process. It requires the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to create a clear step-by-step roadmap outlining every required permit, license, and approval, and the order in which they must happen. That information will be publicly available, regularly updated, and accessible in multiple languages. This is about making government work better. It's about removing unnecessary barriers so providers can focus on caring for children, not chasing paperwork. If we are serious about expanding child care across New York City, we have to start by making the path to opening one clear and accessible. This is a practical, common sense step in that direction. I want to thank Speaker Menon again, the committee staff, my staff, and my colleagues for making this happen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Shulman. I just want to say one thing about this bill. This is very important because to get to universal child care, we need to build more child care facilities. We've had a situation where about 1,400 child care facilities have closed recently, and so we have a real issue where the demand is very high, but we don't have enough supply. And so this council is dedicated to reducing the regulatory hurdles and burdens that are making it so difficult to build more child care facilities. That's why I'm very excited about this bill, and we'll be doing more bills of this nature. I'm now going to call on our majority leader, Sean Abreu, to speak about his bill, which would require the Department of Sanitation to implement a pilot program by April next year to use power washing machines to clean sidewalk surfaces in commercial corridors. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We all love New York, but we don't all love what's stuck to the sidewalk. I think I spit out a piece of gum in Washington Heights in 1997, and I'm pretty sure it's still there. When you walk down a busy street in any borough, you see the grime that has seemingly built up for years, and I strongly believe we have to do something about it, and we are doing something about it. Clean sidewalks should be the norm, not the exception. And to make that happen, we're passing a bill that would create a pilot program that will cover busy corridors in each of the 5 boroughs to proactively power wash the sidewalks, blasting away that built up filth. The Department of Sanitation already uses power washing machines to eliminate graffiti, and we're bringing that same approach now to our sidewalks. Along with on-street trash containerization, this is an important step as part of our comprehensive approach to cleaner streets. I'm committed to ensuring that it succeeds. Again, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank Sanitation Chair Justin Sanchez as well for his support.
Great, thank you. So Councilmember Julie Wan, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but she sponsored a bill that would require the chief procurement officer to ensure that at least one searchable and publicly accessible online interface provides information about city procurements that exceed the small purchase limits. And then lastly, I have sponsored a bill we're going to be voting on today that increases the penalties for providing false information on the qualifications of any bidder for city contracts. This is a good government bill that cuts down on corruption and fraud and abuse that we have unfortunately seen, and so I'm very excited about this bill as well. That concludes our stated agenda, and with that, I'm happy to take on-topic questions first. Oh, yeah, please.
Not on topic, but is anyone first? Anyone have on topic questions? All right, we move on to.
Okay, so outdoor, oh, sorry.
Okay, so
Topic
we're
of the
gonna
city council is not a topic.
right. So we're gonna have members step aside while we take some off topic.
Okay.
Sure.
How do you feel about Mayor Mondavi using the budget as a political prop to push his tax the rich agenda? Specifically, yesterday he announced the budget gap had shrunk, even though it was already known the economic forecast would be better than he had first thought.
So we are going to be, the council each and every year releases its own projections on the budget. So we will be releasing our projections in early March. We've been working on that. We believe that there are areas of savings. First of all, our budget analysis will, of course, include the Wall Street bonuses that occurred the end of December, early January. So it will reflect that. It will also reflect the actual number of employees. So there will be savings there at every single city agency as well. And so we look forward to the budget process. This budget process is now beginning, and we look forward to the conversation with the administration. We believe that there are many areas of savings. I've outlined some of them in the past month. Some of them include the eradication of no-bid contracts, where we could be saving billions of dollars. Some of them include the Office of Healthcare Accountability, where again, and the move to Emblem Health in particular is $1 billion savings to the city of New York. So we're going to be starting that budget process and having those conversations.
The question goes specifically, the idea of using the budget as a political prop to push an agenda, is that something that you and the council plan to engage in, as Mayor Mamdani had engaged?
We haven't released our budget projections. As I've said from the beginning, we believe there are additional areas of savings that have yet to be identified publicly that we will be identifying. Again, in every single city agency, we believe there are areas of savings. So we will be releasing our budget projections in early March, and I think people will see that there are actually some savings to be had. Thank you.
Hi, Madam Speaker.
Hello.
My question's about outdoor dining.
Yeah, I'm sorry, do you mind just speaking up just a little bit?
My
Thank you.
question's about outdoor dining.
Great.
You announced your support for all
Yes.
your outdoor dining. You had also suggested that some neighborhoods may be, and you used the word oversaturated, with restaurants, and that you want to have more community conversations. We talked to some outdoor dining supporters, and they had felt like that could be a sort of dog whistle for people who just simply oppose outdoor dining because they want, to free up more parking spaces.
No.
What is your response to that sort of?
No, not at all. What I mean by that is there are certain council members, Councilmember Harvey Epstein, for example, who has heard from some community groups and residents in the district who, for example, have concerns about sanitation issues, rats, et cetera. So I want us to see how we can address some of those issues while absolutely 100% committing to year-round outdoor dining. I also, at the same time, want to reduce fees for these businesses, as I mentioned. Some of the revocable consent fees are very, very high for these small businesses to be able to bear. So I think in terms of comments that I've heard from some council members, Councilmember Epstein, for example, is just he wants to, and others want to make sure that when we do pass these package of bills, that we are thinking about issues like sanitation, rat mitigation, some of those quality of life issues. And so I'm confident that we can do that in this new package of bills.
And the package, do you have any timing updates? Like, do you think it will be something that you want to get done before, the spring season comes?
We're going to work as quickly as we can. We're also, of course, balancing the budget hearings, which are coming up. So, we're going to work as quickly as we can to move the package along. Thank you so much. Hi, Joe.
I had two questions for you.
Sure.
One, did you see these, like the tweets that this Hot Girls for Zoran founder had, and he was working for Brad Lander as a campaign consultant?
I have not. Sorry, I was up in Albany and Oregon. I have not seen the tweets on that.
So I imagine you don't have a reaction. The mayor was asked about today. He hasn't condemned anything this person says. He basically is just saying he wasn't a part of the campaign.
Okay.
Hot Girls for Zoran is like a separate entity.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have a comment on that because I'd have to see the tweets to be able to comment on it.
And so I was wondering, do you have a take on the city FEP's decision by the mayor to
yeah.
basically not, he doesn't want to pursue this expansion?
Yeah.
I think they're working on a settlement. What's your reaction?
So first of all, we worked very hard on this City FEPS litigation, and we believe it is cheaper to move people into supportive housing than for them to stay long-term in the shelter system. It's not only fiscally a better idea, but it's also the right thing to do to be able to provide long-term supportive housing. So we believe the litigation should end. We don't believe there should be endless litigation on this issue. So we do not agree with the approach of asking for a delay and continuing to litigate. We do not agree with that at all. We remain very open to talking to the administration about this issue, and so we will certainly do that. But we believe the litigation should end at this point, and there should be a candid conversation about how to move this forward. Wynn issued a report today indicating that there are significant savings to this approach and that it's actually less expensive to provide this supportive housing and to do this expansion of vouchers as opposed to leaving people long-term in shelters.
We have time for a few more questions.
Thanks.
Hi, Annie.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thanks. More budget questions. I guess we're a couple days away from seeing the preliminary budget. How much of a surprise will it be to you? Have
Yeah.
you talked behind the scenes, officially, unofficially, with the other side of City Hall about what their savings plan or $1 billion in savings might look like?
Yeah.
And then, relatedly, you've talked before about staffing shortages at the law department. This being an issue for several
Yeah.
years now. Would you like to see the city's sort of official 2-for-1 hiring policy end? Do you think that vacancy reductions is a way that the city should be saving some money in the next budget? How are you thinking about staffing issues right now as it relates to the budget?
Sure. So first of all, I'll take the first question first about what do we expect to see in the prelim budget. So we would obviously, there are many priorities that this council has, of which we've been outlining in the last month. So we look forward to this presentation. This begins a budget dance. I've publicly said that I think the budget dance is that it's somewhat of a dance, which is unfortunate. It always would be better if there could be more coordination and not so much of that back and forth. I do believe we can do that. I've been talking very constructively with the mayor about that and the need to, again, we want to get on the same page in terms of what some of these costs are going to be, what some of the investments are going to be, what some of the joint priorities are going to be. In terms of staffing at the agencies, I have for the last couple of years said I am deeply, deeply concerned that many city agencies have been gutted. The law department is one of many agencies that are facing these staffing shortages, and the staffing shortages are resulting in a diminution of city services that we saw over the past couple of years. So we want to get those agencies fully staffed. We're asking many of these agencies to do a lot with less, and then New Yorkers, see the result of that, which is a diminution diminution in response times and city services, 311 complaints go up, all of the above. So we do want to see them fully staffed, and we will be engaging in this process of conversation about what is the best way to ensure the staffing increases.
Given that, would it be inappropriate, do you think, to see vacancy reductions in the preliminary budget proposal, or is there room for that and also staffing up in areas?
So it's hard to comment on that yet until we see the full. I don't want to comment on something in isolation. I want to look in totality at the prelim budget when it is released. But there are many areas that we're going to need to focus on. I do want to highlight another area of vacancies is paraprofessionals. You know, we have enormous vacancies for paraprofessionals, which are really on the paraprofessionals are on the front lines in our schools, you know, helping special needs kids in particular. There are the number of vacancies is unacceptable. Their starting pay is $32,500. The city of Boston starting pay for paras is $40,000, and the cost of living is much higher in New York. So we have situations like that that I want to ensure are being addressed in the budget.
Time for one more question, we'll put you in one from each of you, so Matthew.
Hi, Speaker. The administration made several promises to you at your snow response hearing to provide data and other follow-up information. Have you gotten that information? If not, what's the deadline and will you release it? And a second question about,
Sorry, one question.
the second question about ICE and Customs and Border Protection potentially surging into New York. Do you have any legislative ideas to address that, or do you think the status quo is okay? The mayor is meeting with, Mayor Mamdani is meeting with Mayor Fry or Frey, however it's pronounced today.
So certainly on the snow removal, we fully expect to get the information from the city agencies. We were very clear that we want to get that information ASAP, so we do expect that we should get that shortly. We don't have it yet, but we do expect to get it soon. And I think that the point of that is, again, these oversight hearings are incredibly important because through that, like we're as city council members, we're on the front lines, so a lot of constituent issues, people generally call the council member first, or the council member's office. And so it, again, with these oversight hearings, it's an opportunity to show where there may be gaps and how they can be fixed. So the warming centers was one of them. We heard a lot about that from various council members and constituents. And so I feel like that was particularly an area where there were a lot of good ideas that came out of that hearing. But when we do get the information, we're happy to share that. And in terms of ICE, I mean, as I said at the top of this event, that, you know, what is happening with ICE is wholly and completely unacceptable. We are talking internally about a lot of different ideas. I mean, one way that the council has focused on is obviously on the legal representation, to beef up funding, to support a 24-hour hotline, because for so many immigrant communities, that first call is the most important call. Like our employee, Rafael Rubio, was given one call. He called the city council HR. So making sure that immigrant communities know their rights, making sure that they're being connected to legal representation, making sure that they know about this 24-hour hotline, all of these are things that we're looking to beef up and expand upon. And then legislatively, there are things that we are looking at internally that I'll be able to comment on when we're ready to.
Do you have any message for Mayor Mamdani as he's meeting with the?
I'm sorry.
I look forward to hearing about that meeting and the conversations about it.
One
I'm sorry.
Sorry, on, this is more on topic.
Yeah.
Stephen Banks's
Ah,
vote. At his confirmation hearing, there were some outstanding questions from council members about his commitment to have confidential counsel with the city council, like confidential legal advice, continue increasing law department staffing, and on current litigation, especially city council. Did you receive any additional information about his commitments on those?
so, I mean, as you know, I was present for that hearing. I had a number of questions, including the ongoing representation of Tim Pearson, which I think is unacceptable and needs to cease immediately. I understand it's good via outside counsel, but that has to end. So that's something I feel very strongly about. In terms of increased staffing at the city law department, I used to work at a senior level in the city law department. The vacancies are really hampering the effective running of that agency, so we want to see those vacancies vacancies filled. We asked Steve Banks about that. He, also wants to see them filled, and I know some of that will depend on the budget. So that's why when the prelim budget is released, we're going to be able to see what that number is. It's very important that those vacancies are filled because the law department obviously is the outside counsel, so to speak, for every single city agency. It's also our counsel. We rely on the law department each and every day. So we really do want to see those vacancies filled. I think it's, imperative that that happen. And so we did have a lot of questions, and those questions I feel that were answered at our hearing. So thank you so much. Thank you.